Hello everyone and assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to learn about the cell, in which we're going to learn about the animal and plant cell, their organelles. So if a brick is to a wall, then a cell is to a body, by their knowledge. Okay, so let's start it this way. If a brick is to a wall and a wall is to a house and a house is to a building, then cell is to a tissue and tissue is to an organ is to an organism. So this is also called the level of organization. So same goes with the plant. Plant also have a cell, which is to a tissue, then an organ system, and into a whole organism. So what actually is cell? The main points are cell is the structural and functional unit in every living organism. The word cell comes from Latin cellula, meaning a small room, discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. So he is the actual person who have discovered the cell. Remember the name and the date? So there is a famous cell theory which you all must remember, you all must know about. So all organisms are made of cells and their products. By products we mean organelles, and we have already started our lecture in a way that if a cell is to a wall, then if a brick is to a wall, then a cell is to a body. And same case is with organism. All the organisms, every single organism in this whole wide world is made of cell and their products, whether it's plant or animal or human. They all are made of cells. And the cell is the basic building unit of life. Like a cell cell combines to make a tissue, and then tissue combines to make an organ, then organ combines to make an organ system, and then a human. So cell is a basic building unit of life, just like a brick that is the basic building unit for a whole building. So number third is they are created from pre-existing cells. Now this is a special quality of a cell, that it multiplies itself into many more cells, as many cells as needed. That's why I said that cells combine to make tissues, because cell multiply itself and it multiplies so much that it becomes tissue, and then into organ and organ system and so on. It also helps in mitosis and meiosis as well. You can see right here in the picture on the screen. You see the cell is going to be divided into half, and then it will be turned into two more cells. This was a single cell before. So they are created from pre-existing cell. That's why your nail grows, your hair grows, because every single cell in your nail and your hair is created from the pre-existing cell. Same goes with your red blood cells and everything in your body. So the activity of an organism depends on the total activity of independent cells. Whatever goes on in an organism is actually whatever goes on in the independent cell, because cell is the basic building block and it creates a product which is then transferred to all other parts of the body. Now there are different types of cells. Some cells are unicellular, some are colonial, some are multicellular, and they're also divided into two broad categories, like the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes, like the one which does not have the nucleus, and the other which do include nucleus. Right here, we're gonna study two types of the cell, the animal cell and the plant cell in this video. So I'm gonna start with the animal cell and the plant. Both are same. Almost all the organisms are present, but there are some differences in the structure. There are some differences in their function. There are some differences in the number of organelles or the type of organelles present in each cell. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to learn about this in this video. So you can see right here in front of the screen, there are different organelles that are present in the cell. Let me make it more easy and to understand. Just like a human have organs in his body which works for the human, same is the case with the cell. It have small organelles which works for the cell. So each organelle have its own function, just like each organ of the body have its own function. So again, just like we learned in the cell theory, that the activity of an organism depends on the total activity of independent cells. So every single organelle contributes in the cell, and then the activity in the cell is carried on, and so on. So you can see right here, this is the nucleus, which is the cell's control center, and nucleus have DNA, contains coded information that passes on every single inherited characteristics. In short, DNA have all of our secret data, or should I say all of our information. Okay, now right here you see the surrounding this kind of like the weird structure that is surrounding the nucleus is actually called the endoplasmic reticulum. It's there are two types. One is smooth and one is rough, that moves and store materials made by the cell. This is their function. After this, you see there is the circle, which is the lysosome, where digestion of cell nutrients takes place. You see, cell also have its own digestion or digestive system. Anyways, so you see this white, the bluish type of fluid which is made on this is actually kind of a jelly-like fluid between cell membrane and the nucleus. You see, the cell membrane is actually called the wall around the cell, just like you have wall around your home, the fence. So cell also have it surrounding the wall. Okay, it have its own function. And there is a fluid between the cell in which all the organelles float, all the organelles are found. So this jelly-like fluid between the cell membrane and the nucleus is called cytoplasm, and this is where all the organelles or little organs are found. And again, let's come to this fence or the wall around the cell. This is called cell membrane, made up of double layers of fatty material. It allows some material to pass into and out of the cell at thousands of places across the surface. And it allows food to pass into the cell and waste to pass out of the cell. So this was all about the cell membrane. Now let's come to this part. This is called centriole, a tiny organ or tiny organs that help the cell divide. You know, this organ actually duplicates and goes to the opposite pole and then release spindle fibers. The spindle fibers are like long threads made of protein, and it's a long process. If you want me to make a separate video on mitosis and meiosis, in which the centriole plays an important role, so do let me know in the comment section, and I'm going to make another video on the centriole and mitosis and meiosis and cell division. Anyways, this is called peroxisome. It's a vesicle that contains enzymes that carry out particular reactions such as detoxifying potentially harmful molecules. And this one right here is vacule, which is a storage area from fats and other substances. And right here you see these small dots, all these dots all around the cell. These are called ribosomes, the tiny protein producing factories. Protein produce chemicals, chemical messages that run a cell. And remember, protein is very essential. So most of the organelles of the cell contributes a lot in making protein and packaging of the protein and distribution of the protein. It's like a small factory, a small headquarter, which is the nucleus, and then there's the surrounding and lots of other substances. And then you see this company have its wall around it to protect, like not everyone can get inside it. So think it as it's a company or a headquarter. Okay. Right here you see this orange colored thing. It's not actually orange, but in order to make it different from others, in order to make it look different and easy to be distinguished, easy to be recognized, so that's why whenever you're shown with a diagram, you will see it as a colorful, so you don't get nervous like, what is this part? Is this part of this? Or is this a nucleus and the surrounding is also nucleus? No, they have given it a different color so you can understand like what you're watching, because the scientists have observed clearly in the microscope, and when you're studying, you're not actually using microscope at that time, you're just reading their theory. So again, come to the point. This is called the Golgi complex. It collects, packages, and distributes molecules made in the cell. Isn't it like a tiny factory which works in the packaging things? So it collects, packages, and distributes molecules made in the cell. This is the work of the Golgi complex, and it's called Golgi because Golgi was the name of the scientist who discovered this. Let's come to this one. It's called mitochondria. Mitochondria is actually the powerhouse of the cell. It's like a generator. It's like a UPS. It's like a battery. Whenever a company works, you see a lot of big generators which supplies electricity, and then the whole company works. Same is the case with the mitochondria. It produces energy for the cell to use by breaking down substances during oxidative metabolism. So this was an overview, and we're going to discuss these organelles one by one, but let me show you the plant cell as well. It's going to be very difficult for you to memorize all the name of the organelles which is present in an animal cell. So in order to make it easy to memorize, I have enlisted some of the most common, the most discussed organelles right in front of the screen, in front of you on the screen. So the most common and most important organelles present in an animal cell is nucleus, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, lysosome, mitochondria, cytoplasm, cell membrane, vacuole, and cytosome. If you want to go in more detail, you will find some other stuffs as well, but for now on, these are the common organelles which we're going to discuss in this video as well. So in order to memorize all these names, there's an acronym which I have written right here. Naughty rabbit eat green leaves, making crunchy carrots very crunchy. So if you memorize this statement, it's going to be easy for you to memorize the name of the organelles as well. Naughty have N, which means nucleus. Rabbit have R, which means ribosomes. Eat have E, which means endoplasmic reticulum, and so on. So if you memorize the sentence, you're going to memorize most of the names of the organelles present in a cell. This is going to be an acronym for the organelles present in an animal cell. Let's come to the plant cell. You see right here on the screen, this is a plant cell. Have you noticed it's kind of different from the animal cell? Animal cell is round or sphere. It's like more flexible type, but here in front of you on the screen, the plant cell is like a box-like structure, more like a rectangular, and the shape appears to be more fixed and rigid. And this is somehow different from the animal cells. So right here you will see on the screen again, this is endoplasmic reticulum, this is ribosome, and these are ribosomes, and this one is called nucleus, here is nucleolus. Again, it also have cytoplasm, it have vacule as well, but this vacule is a bit larger. The animal cell, they had small vacuoles, and the plant cell have a big vacuole. It also have a cell wall. Again, it also and a cell membrane. Okay, so it have a double wall. This company is more concerned about its security. So it have double walls, one is cell wall and one is a cell membrane. And this one is called peroxisome. This one is a Golgi Apparatus. This is plasmodesmata. These are called cytoskeleton, two types of cytoskeleton, microfilament and microtubule. This one is called mitochondrion. It doesn't matter whatever type of structure you make, but the main purpose is to make a mitochondria and label it so others don't get confused. And this one is called chloroplast. And have you noticed that there were some organelles which we didn't discuss in the animal cell? Some of the organelles were missing in the animal cell. So this is one of the differences. Okay, there are some organelles. There are lots of organelles in the plant cell, but I have enlisted main and most common organelles that are that are mostly discussed. So nucleus, ribosome, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, lysosome, mitochondria, cytoplasm, cell membrane, vacuole, plastid, and cell wall. So by saying plastid, it means chloroplast, chromoplast, and leucoplast, because plastid have different types. In order to memorize these names, you can also use an acronym like naughty rabbit eat green leaves, making crunchy carrots very perfectly wonderful. Now it's up to you. You can use your own acronym as well. So this is just a self-made acronym of mine. Anyways, let's discuss the organelles one by one. I'm going to start with the cytoplasm. It's a fluid inside the cell, a substance that fills the cell membrane, holding all organelles except for the nucleus. It does not do that. Okay, it's a jelly-like material and it is 80% of water and usually clear in color. So this is like these are the two main points that I just shared with you. 80% of water. That's why you also always have to stay hydrated, because your cell needs water and it's 80% water, and that's why, since it's 80% water, so that's why it's clear in color as well. Water is kind of colorless. Okay, right here you see this is a cell wall, and whenever I say a cell wall is present in plant cell. It's not present in animal cell. Till now, the research says that the animals which have been discovered, or all the organisms, or all the organisms having animal cells, does not have the cell wall. So it is the outermost boundary of the plant cell. It's rigid and provides definite shape to the cell. So that's why it's called cell wall, and it's rigid. And you see plants also, they are kind of rigid because their building block is rigid. Cell wall. Okay. Now, if you discuss this organelle, or if you want to study about this organelle in a detail, you will find that cell wall also have middle lamella, secondary wall, and primary wall, and all these stuffs. And if you want me to make a detailed video on any of these organelles, you can also tell me in the comment section, and I'll be happy to help you out. Okay, in the microscope, if you see a cell wall, it will look somehow like this, a kind of greenish wall, a dark green surrounding. It's called cell wall, but you will not understand it unless and until it is not labeled for your ease. But right here you see in this microscope, the cell wall is of different color. Okay, here's the chloroplast as well. So now, this is going to be very difficult for you to understand. In order to make it easy for you, scientists have made their own diagram and picture. So when you're studying, you're not using microscope at that time, so it will be easy for you to understand. So they just made their own diagram looking at the picture under the microscope. So this is actually the real cell wall. Let's talk about the cell membrane. It is the outermost boundary of animal cell, and it has the same function of the cell wall in plant cell. Same function. So it is known as plasma membrane, and it allows material to enter and leave cell. And it's also called a semi-permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane, because it allows some substances like water, oxygen, and nutrients to pass through easily. And it blocks and controls the entry and exit of other substances like large molecules or harmful substances, and it also helps in maintaining homeostasis inside the cell. And if you observe this in an animal cell, this part is actually this cell membrane, and it's like they have zoomed the picture and showed you this is how the wall look like. By wall, I mean like surrounding the fence. Okay, now let's come to the endoplasmic reticulum. It's a eukaryotic organelle. And in the microscope, if they show you endoplasmic reticulum, it will look somehow like this. In the microscope, this is endoplasmic reticulum. And it's going to be very confusing for you if you pay close attention. This one is rough endoplasmic reticulum, and this one is actually nucleus, mitochondria. Now, you see, I told you there is no specific shape. You just label it and draw it. This is mitochondria. This is nuclear. That's very confusing to understand. That's why scientists draw it for you like this. They give it different colors. Some give them blue color, some give them brown color, just to make you understand how the endoplasmic reticulum look like. So it's this kind of diagram, and it have two types, and it's responsible for the production of protein and lipid components of most of the cell organelles. There are two types of endoplasmic reticulum: the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The reason why it's called rough endoplasmic reticulum, abbreviated as RER, because it's coated with ribosomes. The presence of the ribosome makes it look like a rough surface. And the reason why the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, abbreviated as SER, is called smooth endoplasmic reticulum, because it's not coated with the ribosome. In the cell, both animal and plant cell, you will see the organelle which is surrounding the nucleus is actually the endoplasmic reticulum. Whereas if you pay attention to the microscopic picture of the endoplasmic reticulum, it's also surrounded around the nucleus. So the nucleus is actually like somehow to some extent surrounded by the endoplasmic reticulum. Now, let's discuss another organelle, which is Golgi bodies. Golgi was the name of the scientist and he discovered it. So it's also known as Golgi Apparatus or Golgi Complex, Golgi bodies. So it have like 3 different nicknames. So it is an organelle that is compared to a factory. It's the type of factory work hard to package and move proteins to and out to the outside of the cell, and also process proteins from ribosomes that are located on the endoplasmic reticulum. Right here on the screen, you see different people have drawn a different diagram. Just make these structures, and they try to define it like this is kind of endoplasmic, this is kind of Golgi apparatus. So someone have given it a blue color while someone gave it a purple color. So the purpose is to just to show you what they saw in the microscope. In both animal and plant cell, this part is actually the Golgi apparatus. Now let's come to the nucleus. It's a circular object enclosed in a membrane called the nuclear envelope. And the purpose of the nuclear envelope is to separate the content of the nucleus from the cytoplasm. It's like a fence around the nucleus because it has some top secret information, like all the information about the organism, so it must be protected. So it's like surrounded by the nuclear envelope, or you can also call it nuclear membrane. So right here in the picture you see this is just a rough diagram of a nucleus, and it has small holes which called nuclear pore. It have some wires inside it which called chromatin, and it have DNA which have all of our information, the way we talk, the way we walk, or height, or eye color, or number of our fingers, number of our hairs, and number of all the cells, or every single thing. Every single information is present in the DNA, in the chromatin, and which is enclosed in the nucleus. This is called nucleolus. This is nucleoplasma, which is like a fluid inside the nucleus, just like a cytoplasm inside the cell. And this one is called nuclear envelope. Okay. Nucleus is the control center of a cell. See, that's why it's like surrounded by nuclear envelope, and it's a control center of the cell. It contains cells' hereditary information, DNA, and controls the cell's growth and reproduction. So if you duplicate all the information in the nucleus with the chromatins, which becomes chromosome and duplicates and so on, so all the information within the cell will also duplicate and grow on, and it also takes place in the reproduction, which is a discussion. It should be done under the topic of mitosis and meiosis. So if you want me to make a video on that, I'll be happy to do that. So do let me know in the comment section. And another important factor important function of the nucleus is it also controls the synthesis of ribosomes and proteins in the cytoplasm. In both plant and animal cell, you will see this part in both plant and animal cell is called nucleus. Now you have observed this, if you look closely, in the animal cell is present in the center, whereas in plant cell it's actually pushed towards a side because of the presence of this large vacuole. The next organelle is ribosome. Ribosomes are the cytoplasmic granules composed of RNA, which is ribonucleic acid, and protein, which takes place in protein synthesis, or at which protein synthesis takes place. This picture right here is called ribosome. It have like large subunit and a small subunit. In both, there are 2 types of ribosomes are found in 2 different places. One that's attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, one that's attached to the animal cell, and the other that is attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now come to the plastid. There are different types of plastids: the chromoplast, chloroplast, leucoplast, and the other types will be discussed in this video. So let's start with the chloroplast. It's an organelle only found in plants. And why it's only found in plants? Because it's the site of photosynthesis in the plant, and human or animal doesn't make their food by the process of photosynthesis, so they don't need chloroplast. And the reason why they cannot make their food by the process of photosynthesis is because they don't have the chloroplast. Simple as that. So what does the chloroplast actually do? It captures light energy to conserve free energy in the form of ATP, and it contains green pigment that causes plants and leaves to look green. Imagine if human had the chloroplast, they would look green like an alien. Anyways, in the plant cell you will see this part is actually these organelles are the chloroplasts. Unless and until they're not labeled, you will not know. Okay, the next one is chromoplast, one of the type of the plastid, a type of plastid found in plant cell that contains pigments other than green. These pigments give flowers, fruits, and some leaves their red, orange, or yellow color, and the main reason of this is to attract pollinators and animals. So animals and pollinators, they can eat them, and also it helps in the seed dispersal and pollination, which which prevents the plant from being just plant. It helps in spreading the generation of the plants, so you get more and more food. We don't get short of food and plant because of the pollinators. The next one is a new leucoplast. If you see in the microscope, it will look somehow like this, whereas the scientists, in order to make it easy for you, they defined it like this. They said it looks somehow like this. So leucoplast is a colorful plastid found main in non-photosynthetic part of plants like roots, tubers, and seeds. So it's non-photosynthetic. It means it doesn't take part in the photosynthesis. That's why it's found in roots, tubers, and seeds. Their primary role is storage. So the type of leucoplast which stores starch is called amyloplast, a type of leucoplast, and the one which stores protein is called proteinoplast. The one which stores oils and fats is called aleoplast. It's very hard to pronounce the names. Anyways, so that's why you take oil and oil out of the seed, because it have these type of leucoplast and stores these things. Okay, the next organelle is vacuole, and you see right here the cute diagram which is made is actually vacuole. It also have it is also labeled as tonoplast, cell sap, central vacuole, and nothing else. So vacuole are the water-filled storage spaces found in cells, found in both plant and animal cells. It stores water and waste products and excreted through contractile vacuole. So this is the main function of the vacuole. Next one is the mitochondria, which is again the powerhouse of the cell. As I told you earlier, it's like a generator or a UPS or a battery which supplies electricity to the company. So it's like a powerhouse of the cell, provides energy to perform different cell activities. And many cells only have single mitochondrion, whereas other can have several thousand mitochondria. In this cell, if you see this part is mitochondria, like it's present in the cell as well. It is present in the cell. Okay, the next organelle is centrosome. Centrosomes serve as the main microtubule organizing center and of the animal cell, as well as the regulator of the cell cycle progression. So whenever a cell divides or into half and multiplies, if you remember the cell theory, all cell arises from pre-existing cell. It is because of the centrosome. It goes to the opposite pole, like you see here in the picture, and doubles the chromosomes or the DNA information, and then push or towards the opposite pole, and the cell is then divided into two, and then again the other part, both of the daughter cells grows again to the original parent cell size. In the cell, if you see, you will find centrosome over here. And if you want to know about the diagram of the centrosome, so it have this centriole, microtubule, triplet, and centriole. Okay, so far we have discussed a lot of organelles. We have learned about different organelles of both plant and animal cell. Now it's time to know the difference between an animal cell and plant cell. So right here to the left you will see features, and in the middle there's a plant cell and animal cell to the right. So cell wall is present in plant cell, whereas it's absent in animal cell. Chloroplast is present in plant cell, but it's absent in animal cell. Vacule is large central vacule. There's a large central vacule in plant cell, whereas animal cell have small or many small vacuoles. Shape usually rectangular or fixed shape, and animal usually round or irregular type of shape. Centrosome is usually absent in plant cell, but in animal cell it's present because it takes place in the cell division. Plastid, like a myeloplast, is present in plant cell, but it is absent in animal cell. Energy storage of the plant cell is store starch, whereas animal cell energy storage is to store glycogen. Lysosome is very rare. If present, it's not actually present, but if it's present, it's rare. And in animal cell, lysosome is common. The diagram you see right here in front of the screen, this is the plant cell and this is the animal cell. So this was all about today's video. If you have learned about the cell, you can like the video. If there was anything that was confusing, you did not get it, you can ask me in the comment section, or you want me to create a detailed video on the other organelles of the cell as well, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you out. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe to our channel so whenever a new video is uploaded, you will get notified. And till then, Allah Hafiz.